So, this is Calicat the Calicatster, and this is the beginning of the making of our next story. It is the 20th. In 11 days, it's Halloween night. We want to release our next story on Halloween during the day. So, 11 days away. We can do this. So we've come up with a format for putting out the next episode. It happens to be, that next one is not underground. The next one is the creepy sort of, perfect for Halloween, the creepy sort of, we go to the Liege Maximo planet base thing, and we spend some time with the Liege Maximo, and apparently Draco and Max's Carta have infiltrated it, and we get to find out what's going on with that. So that's where they've been for the last two episodes. They've been off on this mission, and now we go to their mission on the planet. So that's the next episode. And the Kelly Cowboy, what I'm talking about. Like, the end of Star Trek Kamara, the movie, our Star Trek parody, we did phone some of it in. And the end of back in the day, Starcrackers did most of the pickup scenes were literally done that way. There is a way to get through the dialogue without burning up a lot of film on just copying the dialogue over and over again. And that would be to record the dialogue and then shoot the movie. It's a really strange way to do it. It would be reverse the way you would do it in animation. But because of the way the Starscream one was shot, and the previous one was shot, we totally could do that because we have basically, we're using 4 different camera angles the whole time. So we totally could do that. We could have a story where they literally are conversing with themselves back and forth, and they're just doing a thing. We don't want to make it boring, though. So the trick is to do a reading of the story. The next one is called Genesis Fading Memories. And so we're going to do a reading of the story. So the making of this is going to be weird because there isn't really going to be any making of the dialogue. It's going to be making of, okay, we did some scenes and some recordings. And then we put the dialogue together later to match the video. The video will be shot, but yeah, you don't need to do like a setup of 20 minutes of a scene or 16 minutes of a scene. You just shoot the scene and duplicate it after to make it match the audio. I don't know if that might cause a train wreck or not. I don't know. I mean, Chimera came out fine. We did that one with both of those, in fact, audio and the other one. Yeah, so part of it, it doesn't matter that the original drive is almost used up. We have room for the other drive. We can switch it to for the last 3 episodes. And this is the, so this one, and then Underground, and then Redemption will take us into, this is going to come out on Halloween. And so we're going to do Underground next, probably early November. And Redemption will be in mid-November, most likely. So if we do it this way, we can actually complete principal photography on alternate Transformers Mush before my 50th birthday. Easily. If we do all the dialogue and everything together. And, easily. And the series will be in the can for a season. So that's the idea. Completely go off the rails. It probably won't, because we can do the audio of the scenes, read them, physically read the scenes like we did with the narrations. Just read the whole scene, and then say, okay, what video would go with this scene that we just read for? And let's go and shoot the scene about each time there's a scene and then match the video to it. It should work. Since they're in basically one place again, one set, it should be fairly easy to just, because they're in the, this is after the Wrath. This is, we've encountered the aliens. We encountered the Decathlon and the Athracon. Decathlons and Athracons, I think they were, or Athalacons? Something like that, Athalatrons. And we've encountered, at the end of the last episode, and we have been hinting at the Liege Maximo and the Underground for some time, and the Underground really should take place after, because it's IV bundling, so is Redemption. It should take place after that because Redemption is directly connected to Underground. They're related. They're like, this is like a prequel. Well, it was originally done after Redemption, but they were both in the 90s when they were done. I think it was 2001 when they finished Redemption. She never actually completed Redemption. We added a scene at the end to finish it. I would like to go back to the original premise of that and take some of that out because some of it doesn't make sense. Some of it makes it a dream. I don't want it to be like that. I don't want it to be like, oh, this universe doesn't matter because it was another universe all along and we stopped it. It's like, no, that's kind of a silly, that's a kind of a cheat at the end. It's like saying, okay, well, oh, it's not like the Andraxis one and the Lord Commander one, where we know Starscream's going in there and we know he's going to come out because they're not going to kill Starscream. So we know that, so. This is going to be a reading of the next episode. So yeah, we want to have your planets and your aliens and your thing come together as a whole. And there's a lot of dialogue to chew through scenery, like we did with the Springer episode. And it would be way easier to have, okay, we're going to do the dialogue and then put it in there. You don't need to repeat the same line over and over again to do tests of it. You just repeat the whole scene there once, and then say, okay, this scene went well, so let's keep going, So yeah, and it's quicker, and less film is used. You would think more film would be used because you're filming a lot of audio, and then you're like putting the video in later. But actually not. If the audio is translated, then it works, if it's rendered. Yeah, so we're tempted. Because these latest episodes do have a lot of talking. Could have done that with this Lord and Commander one. It would have been easier because when we edited Lord and Commander, came up with the same idea, came up with the same issues. The visuals. We were so excited about the audio and how it sounded that the visuals didn't quite match. So we kept having to tweak the visuals as we went through. Well, in this case, we would shoot the visuals later. So, yeah, it's in reverse. So, it's a weird idea. But let's try it. Let's do it. Anyway, you are watching the making of Genesis Fading Memories by Gabriel Quan. It's the next episode. And I think that's a late 90s one as well. So that should be, or maybe early 2001 or something. And it originally was about the Quintessons. It was originally like ancient past of Cybertron. But in this version, it's 2020, and they're just in an ancient part of the Transformer lair. They're going to visit the actual place where the Liege Maximo cult is. Liege Maximo was a prime from a long time ago, during the time of the primes, and they're following the will of Primus as he saw it. He was a radical Transformer. His brother was Megatronus from the other timeline. So that's all in there, and as I've said before on the other tapes. Dreamwave and IDW and a lot of the other ones borrowed heavily from TransformersAltMush.com thing from back in the day. Heavily. That's why it's similar. It's not that we're copying them. We are kind of. We're winking at them, saying, "Aha! Look what you did." It's also no. They ripped it off from the Alt Mush PDF boards. They totally did. Because I've got stories here that are like predate those comic books before they even were a dream. And I'm putting them to film. Yeah, so there you go. Let's do it. This is Calicat the Calicatster. This is day 2 of filming the audio pickups for the movie before the thing is even shot. So we're going to try this weird experiment so we can get this out easily by Halloween, and so yeah, we're gonna do the audio pickups. That's all that's going on. We're at page 38, and we're gonna start. So that's pretty much it. This is Genesis Fading Memories. Okay, Calicat the Calicatster audio recording, making of the audio tracks for this film because we want to get it out by Halloween. So it's like filmed right after the other one. Yeah, there's a different camera, clearly, the other one. So we got up to a little bit of snag. The rest of it was fine up until this point. The author starts discussing Unicron and Unicron's backstory. The stuff that we did with the last episode, where we were able to discuss a war on Los Angeles and not show it, but just have them discuss it, worked because of what they were talking about and where. But in this case, it's the old Han Solo adage. Old Han Solo adage. You can't say this, George. So, it would be really awkward to have them telling it, not showing, to quote Mercedes Lackey as well. Yeah, and Andy Weir and some other authors. You can't have a story where it's literally them telling you about the compartment on Cybertron with the girl and going there, and want to see that instead of tell that. And also it throws it off because they've basically established that Unicron is a monster planet in the movie in the 80s, and that Primacron creating him didn't make sense, so we kind of retconned that a little bit and said that Primacron merged with Wrath briefly, and Wrath made him think he was building a vessel for Unicron. He was not. He was just crazy, deluded, because Wrath talked to him. Wrath is the one that built Unicron. That the aliens built Unicron. That makes sense because they're a Cat 3 civilization. Now, for the lady that went out to do the Unicron thing, that doesn't make sense, so I'm going to rejigger this so that it is the scene, at least for the audio, so that you can get it. Yeah, we don't want to just have her talking about what happened to Unicron. It's not interesting. So, yeah, to try to fix this as best we can. Oh, yeah, the audio tracks of reading about 101 pages of material in a day and a half is totally possible to do the audio. Now the video, the hard part. But we have all the audio in the can. So, yeah, there's no added beginning or ending like the other episodes because it's just self-encased in the story. It's supposed to be a distant prequel to originally it was a distant prequel to the Transformers, millions of years in the past. This version is set during the Liege Maximo period. It have mechanicals and vampires and things, and a mysterious mage and a planet, and a prison break. It has everything. It's a fantasy story. It has a battle. Apparently, Unicron, the monster planet, in this version is probably the one that's been missing for a few episodes. This version, it's set now in October 2020, not in the past. And stuff is happening to these other outlying planets. Your basic premise for the story and the audio, the video, what you're going to edit, is that Andromedon is under attack, the station's being devastated, the Liege Maximo is under attack, and the Transformers have infiltrated it to figure out the origins of the Liege Maximo. Yeah, as you know from the audio, though, they don't actually, but not like the X-Files did it. They do actually explore some of the, not like the X-Files did the Final Conspiracy. That was dumb. In this version, well, they infiltrate them and they become them. So, in a sense, we get to see the fall of their empire as things are happening around them, which changes the galaxy. In fact, this should definitely be the episode right after the last one, because once you've defeated Wrath, all you'd have left is chaos. You'd have the Unicron character, or the Armada one, and that would be where it would go from there. So that makes sense. Yeah, the visuals, should be different. This was an audio reading of all of the audio, so that all you have to do is, put the story in there. It's both a bottle show and a planet show. It has a lot of scenes on the bridge of a ship. It has a lot of scenes. Your main characters are apparently twin cast, Ace Case, Sport, Night Tracer,
Teravek's in it briefly. The other guy, a couple of times. Draconis is in it briefly in the beginning. And it appears that his character, his cover, died, but they didn't show it. But yeah, there's yeah. So the unlike the X-Files episode with the conspiracy that I mentioned, where that was just off camera, the council blew up. This is like, no, there's a Unicron and it's blasting it. So that's at least something. It's still kind of off camera, but you get to see something happen. Yeah, so that would lead to the other stories. Yeah. Into the essence of Carta. If you go back to the original Transformers and Carta, 2 stories. The trans stories in the 80s, which you can't really, but you could have read the stories back in the day on the Mush. The idea was that the Carta will die, most of them, once they're created, because they're just they're cheap. and once they die, then some of them think that the world has ended and destruction and chaos. She decided to make a whole series out of it, based on these Mush stories, using some of their fan characters and changing the fan characters' names to the Carta names, just because. Sure, Carta repeatedly. Our last episode, Jetfire, was not intended to be in there, but he is in this version. In that version over there in the last episode, I don't think he's. Well, he would be in this too as Ratatek, but it would be very brief. Be the mid-range Jetfire there. So it would be the half-sized one. So yeah, we have. We have completed the audio portion now for the video, which we don't. It doesn't matter what the sound is, just so the video looks good. A lot of the editing of the last episode, which was video re-recorded, was rushed, so it looked. So we had to keep zooming in on characters and put them all in the frame and put them out there, whereas this won't be that rushed because we won't need to match the audio in post. We can match it to the video. Hopefully that works. Hopefully that's not a complete mess. Yeah, I pretty much said who everybody was, so you can track the audio and go like, okay, this is supposed to be these guys talking. Mainly conversations between the less than a dozen people in the story. It's not very many. Yeah. So we should be able to edit it from here on out. Yeah. Okay, what this is an introduction to the whole story. There needs to be a little bit of an introduction. Explain what they're doing there. Why. So this is a bit of an introduction to what's going to happen. And we'll try to keep it piffy because we want it to get to the story. But this is going to be what happened. Action. Now, we already did the audio, and this is the beginning of the video part of it. I don't know how much of this is going to be in the can tonight, but this was a pickup scene. Well, not a pickup. No, that's wrong. It was the scene. It was a tie into the last episode, pre-teaser segment. That's kind of, it was a teaser segment before the story. Establishing that our heroes are going to go in there in disguise, so the aliens aren't going to recognize them, even though it's going to look like them to us. But to them, visually, it'll look different. And that establishes why Draconis and the others are there. It's because they've gone undercover, which is a classic trope of an action sort of spy caper kind of deal going on. The joke is, of course, that we see them as themselves, and the only thing that I changed was Sport. I felt that he should change his outfit slightly because he's going to be confused for the other one, the other Prime, the Draconis guy, and it would look weird. Yeah, so I decided, no, he's going to play the knockoff Prime guy. He's going to play Fire Convoy, basically. Flame Convoy in the story. But it's supposed to be...
just a flame convoy figure, but he's playing like sport. He's playing himself in the story. Not playing with himself, playing himself. Dirty minds. And also, I wanted to address that little Myriad thing at the end, even though I didn't need to. I thought that it would kind of be fun to have, since Alicom's in it, for Myriad to show up and basically acknowledge, yeah, you weren't in the last episode and you were kind of important to it, and here's the data that the other one left behind, only to have her say, well, I knew a lot of that, and thanks for sharing. But ultimately, yeah, Strawberg was apparently into everything. It was kinky. Yeah, so he's into everything. Oh my. So yeah, sure. And that's because then it can explain why October Tone or October Gorky and Strawberg, the metal shot, who was a G.I. Joe barbecue figure, and Gorky was Gorky, but we called him October Gorky. But yeah, they're part of their essence has been merged with Transformers, which comes out about as a story concept in this next episode. That's right now they're doing, in that they can easily jump into other protoforms and sparks and things and be other guys. But in this case, the disguise is in reverse. Like the other episode had them saying, okay, they're protoforms and sparks, and they become other things, and the gender means nothing to them. They're gender fluid. They can be male or female, doesn't matter. We've established that. They can be in a protoform or not. They can be in a body shell or not. They're protoplasmic beings. The sparks are what they were, but then many eons ago, they were biological beings, but then they evolved out of the need for physical bodies, and they created these body shell things, the protoforms and sparks, and then put robotic exosuits on them, became robots. So they're kind of implying the human character of Mirai there represents sort of halfway in the evolution of or any trans tector like that is halfway in their evolution. So we have this sort of or at least some part of the way there. And the idea is, well, we had Autobot Spike really early on in G1, so it is possible to transfer minds back and forth. And that was a silly episode, but okay, fine. But yeah, and although there were some elements of the last episode similar to Beast Machines, there wasn't any one Beast Machines story that it was spoofing. It just mentioned it, sort of called back to it. The spark thing and all that, and the well and all that. It kind of called back to it because it was written in 2003, so they referenced some of it in the script. But it was mainly all Andraxis 7 Lord Commander in that one. This one, like that one, is all Genesis Fading Memories. It's all of that. Almost all the dialogue is Gabriel Quan's from TF boards. It's all his. He's going to get a byline. We can't pay anybody, so we can't pay him, but he's going to get a byline. We use the dialogue. So, yeah, the audio. So we're going to see whether this works. It's the 21st, and get this out on the 31st. We got to start shooting. So the footage to go with it. The last one had a lot of meetings and dialogue. This one's more of an action-adventure. There's a little meeting and dialogue in there, but mainly it's action-adventure. So with a lot of quick-witted repose from sport. It's a sport episode. It's a sport one. So everybody's undercover, and let's see what's next. We're going to have to read through the story as it goes at this point and find the visuals to match with the audio. Otherwise, it will be impossible to edit this. So we'll do that. So you know where to edit. They're watching the station under attack with the aliens talking. It's a little contrived, but the idea is that they are the aliens on the ship watching the station get attacked. So that's kind of what's going on. They've disguised their ship as part of the fleet, and it's going to get, they're watching it get attacked. Maybe I should throw in a caveat in there that establishes that, though. Let's do that.
let's, yeah, so I'm going to do that. So, in terms of editing, go to just before this station attack, just before it, and establish who these guys are that are receiving the SOS. Repeating it to Commander guy in their disguised ship. Action. Okay, just so you know where things are. That was the end of page 6. So you know where things are. It's just page 6. It's just up to the part. So all the standard footage. That's where you would put the audio discussion with Maximal and mainly it's Prime and discussing Draconus discussing stuff with the little guy. The next scene, page 7, brings us to the council chambers, where we have him encountering Teravec, who is one of them, and talking to him. And Teravec is Overlord, so just so you know, that's who that is. So take out the Overlord toy and use that. That's Teravec. So yeah, we get to see him again. Okay, this is a scene in the Liege Maximo chamber. In the scene in the Liege Maximo chamber, we get to see what they're up to. They're being played by Transformers, but maybe they're all in disguise. So they've gone to the chamber. That's going to be Teravec. These other two are just other ones. That's, of course, Sport and Twincast and Draconus. Okay, so this is the video portion of the audio portion of the Transec. It is technically the third day, but we're counting it as day. Yeah, because it's not the fourth day because there was no filming on the middle one. So today is the day. Okay, so we were trying to find out where the audio matched the video, and it appears the council chamber scene actually starts on page 2, not page 7. So all the dialogue with Prime instructing Sport to take over. We begin in the middle of the action after the council has presumably been taken by them in disguise. So what's going on is they're not aware somehow that the council has been taken by them in disguise. We don't get to see it, so it's a little awkward. But that's what's going on. Is they're actually were they Liege Maximo to begin with? Is that why they're? Yeah, so it's kind of unclear as to. Yeah, but we're gonna go with it because maybe they're just in character. Here is the. Okay, we're back. It's page 11 and 12. I read ahead in terms of what was going on in the story. Apparently, this guy dies. In the story, Sport kills him and then says somebody else did it. Even though Sport and them are undercover on the Liege Maximo planet, it would be weird if he just assassinated somebody, so somebody else is going to do it. Yeah. But we are going to have his discussion between him and the other guy in a minute here. I'm going to end this. I'm not sure if there's an ending to the scenes. I'm going to end the scene where they pan back here. And then we're going to go to immediately redressing the set. So what this is a crucial scene before the ship launches to establish what's going on. And also what happened to most of the Liege Maximo. Because otherwise, it is like the X-Files finale, and they're just there and they're gone. They're infiltrating them, so he doesn't break character because the guy in the back knows. So yeah, nor is it established that one of them is dead. 2 of them are dead, but yeah. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do with this scene. It's not making of footage because I'm going to go directly to the scene so you know where to edit it. So this isn't making of footage. This is the pickup scene in here. It's not a pickup. It's a scene. This is not going to be a minute, so I'm not going to say making of. All right. So we have Prime explaining things. Yeah, it'll be a minute. Yesterday doesn't... Hello, this is Cat the Calicaster. Yesterday does not count as a day of filming. It was merely a camera test. So this is technically day 3. This in brief has been some of the movie so far. This is today's filming. Didn't get to all of it, but we did get to what amounts to an hour on the camera. Dialogue-wise, we are at page 19. So 20 minutes into the movie, basically. So I don't know whether this is faster or not. I know that it's better acted because it's the audio pickup audio, but I don't know if it's better acted. I don't know if it's better visually. It's kind of the same. But I've tried to... we'll see what it looks like when it comes together. The audio is all done ahead of time. It does free up the camera to do some certain things. And it makes it a quicker shoot than 7 or 8 days. It wouldn't be 7 or 8 days. It would be like 3 or 4. Now, if we get a full day tomorrow on Saturday, we can knock out the rest of the thing full day. And that would be awesome because a lot of the extra speechy, dialogue-y stuff wouldn't need to be there. You just gotta just... Yeah, don't bother reading the dialogue necessarily. You don't have to. It's already been read. Just say this is the marker of where the scene is. And this is the marker where the guy is. Mumble a little like you've been doing. And just keep going through the rest of it. Energy vampire thing. Yeah, there were a few little minor changes in there. There was a few transitions that were added. So there are scenes that are actually added to the story. So you'll have to find those. This is mainly technical specifics of scenes. There had to be transitions, otherwise you wouldn't know where everyone was going. The dialogue you can actually say pretty much. That was good so far. And of course the death of one of the characters, who was a minor character, but still it makes them Decepticons if one of the Autobots just decided to cack one of the locals, then they'd be Decepticons, So we have some Robotechs on the bridge in disguise as well. Hence them mentioning organics. They just kind of don't go into who they are, but it's Miria and Lisa and Min-May. I don't know what Min-May's role would be. Maybe she learned how to be in G.I. Joe somehow. She was with them, so... He's like a correspondent or something. Ambassador or something. I don't know. But yeah, they're undercover on the ship. This is pretty much also, incidentally, the last we see of the Basilisk, the ship they're on. It gets impounded when they get to the factory satellite. And they have to get Teravek's ship, which is called something else. The Hydra, I think. And then they have to get another ship, which was Hydra shuttlecraft. The Tesavik something. Yeah, they have to get that one. They had some odd names in here. Snake names, yeah. So, even though, yeah, Basilisk and Hydra. Hydra's a water snake. Yeah, so you have it's an odd story. It's definitely kind of Halloween themed. I mean, when we go to the planet, it is. But yeah, you wanted to have a transition that worked. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. And I think this was a good day's shoot. So, yeah, I think it actually worked. I'm not sure whether it's a good idea to do the other ones like this, unless there's a lot of extra dialogue. Yeah, it does free up the camera to do different things. So. And we have been doing those different things, like a lot. So yeah, it won't just look like talking heads floating in space. Which is fine for last episode, but in this one we want it to be a little more, it's more of an action adventure than a thinking episode with thoughts and feelings and backstory that we couldn't actually animate. Yeah, and it's not in the script, so yeah, to animate it. In this one we have to actually go to the planet and see stuff. So yeah, anyway, so that's, yeah, you're watching watching Genesis Fading Memories
which so far doesn't have anything to do with memories, isn't fading, and is vaguely the genesis of a version of Cybertron, I guess. So the title is like bizarre. It's more Terrence Malick a title than it actually is. I would you could rename it, but we're going with whatever. The Basilisk Adventure or something, but that wouldn't make sense either because 20 minutes in, your ship is kind of left behind. The crew or the I don't know. Might consider a slight title change there. So the idea was that the Centurios, the Liege Maximo, was already under attack before they infiltrated it, and they arrived there and became them in that. And I suspect that Draconis and the other guy from the story actually are in the Liege Maximo, and that's how they were able to do it. That's the theory, is that the Cardabots are actually part of that. So that's why they didn't freak out. So they're actually part of it. They didn't know, but they actually were. So, now you know. But yeah, that would make sense, because then they could go in there. No one would say anything. We don't know anything about Draconis Prime and Maxis Carta before the series began. That they could have card-carrying Legis Maximo ident cards on them. Yeah. The neutrals aren't neutral, it turns out. Oh. Okay. Marker day 4. Day 4, the 24th. And we have a scene on the skiff or thing, and we're gonna shoot the footage. There's no making of here, unless you want there to be a 25-second making of. This is day 5 of this story, and we should not have done a rehearsal before this story. It's twice as big, twice as long, and we're halfway through it. It did not work to do that. So just do the dialogue with the characters. Next episode, the penultimate episode before the finale. This episode was an interesting experiment, but the experiment is not working. It is harder to put it together and edit it without it being live. It has to be live. It just has to be. That's the way to do it. But this, we're going to finish this and then get it done. But don't do it that way. It just doesn't. Yeah. We thought it would work because the audio will sound great. The audio will sound great, but the visuals, we have to match that at the same time. It's kind of hard to do that. You can't reverse dub. Yeah, well, it was an interesting experiment to see whether it could be done. But yeah, if we want this out by Halloween, it has to be, so that's this. And now we're going to start filming the remainder. We'll try to get it all done. Here we go. Alright, this is it. There's 4 pages left of this story. We're wrapping it through the whole thing. And although it is the 4th day, it is a day quicker. It's probably going to take 2 or 3 days longer to edit this. So it's not good to do rehearsal beforehand. It just doesn't work. I did want to say that the 4 pages left, the ending is different from the story. We're not going to end it like the story did, with this really odd scene where he's kind of emulating an episode of Transformers where they escape a black hole by using their parts to escape, using coolant and pieces of them. That doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense that there's a giant robot planet in the story either, and that he's battling another giant robot planet. That doesn't make sense either. But with the characters themselves on the shuttle, it doesn't make sense that they would even be noticed. And so the ending of this will be slightly different from the storybook. In that why would a black hole even form? They're just 2 planet ships fighting each other. Why would the star blow up? Why would it go nova? It doesn't make sense. They just had to go nova because the guy
Gabriel Quan thought it would be cool to do that. It's like the black hole. It was done it was done in the 90s, so it was maybe the early 2000s, but it was before the Star Trek movie with the black hole. I'm guessing he's thinking back to the black hole in the 70s, the movie The Black Hole. He's like, that'll be cool if the guy gets through it. And also we'll have him sacrifice himself to like save the ship. Doesn't make any sense that he would do that though. So, yeah, I did do the audio for the sacrifice, but it doesn't make sense that he does. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. So we'll see how this other version of the thing goes without him sacrificing himself. If they just get away, that's fine. Just get away. We don't know what happened to them. That's fine. We're only on day 4. We did complete day ahead of time of filming, but I think we used twice as much video. Yeah, next one's a penultimate episode. That means the one before the finale. But this one was, in brief, this was Genesis Fading Memories. It was an episode where our heroes go to a funhouse type of adventure. Funhouse / roller coaster ride / adventure. We don't see much action, but we do see weird, funhousey weird things happening, like creatures coming out and attacking the dwellers. Played by Skylynx. It wasn't supposed to be him though, as a dweller, and another dweller, and I think there was a third one. Yeah, so they were being guys, and I guess it was a Calicat episode. Yeah, it wasn't a Kelly episode. So yeah, not much making of for this one. But I imagine the post-production, it's already the 26th, so the post-production will be fun. Yeah, let's not do that in the last two. But yeah, okay, it's all in order on the tape, so you can watch the audio, all of that's in order. All this is in order by date, so if you want to find out what the scenes go together. This last scene was reshot, or the last 2 minutes was 2.5, 3 minutes was reshot from the script. It's not in the script. We thought at the point in which Sideways or Twincast realizes he should sacrifice himself to the ship didn't make sense, given what they are in their situation. Now, yeah, there's 2 monster planets fighting, and we leave that, just didn't go on, because, yeah, we want them to know their stuff, so they're just adrift fighting through endless time and space. No black hole. We changed it so he just kind of decides, well, yeah, he's told not to do what he's going to do. You can't use yourself as the coolant. That doesn't make sense. There wouldn't be enough to do anything. We wouldn't go anywhere. Not all of us together wouldn't even do enough to get them out of there. Fortunately, that other ship is still out there. So I thought, well, what happens if that other ship just rescues them? It's a typical Star Trek rescue ending, but sure, why not? Actually, it kind of rips off Star Trek V a little bit. In that the hero guy, commander guy, shows up in the background. He just happened to be there on the cruiser. There's 3 ships there. There's 2 cruisers and the ship that went after them. We don't know what happened to Teravac's ship. It's out there somewhere too. So, yeah. So there are some people still out there in the Liege Maximo and Liege Interior. Apparently, the scenario with the story is that Draconis and his group infiltrate the Liege Maximo Council as Liege Maximo, but they're really supposed to be Centurios. And they go in there and they're like infiltrating it to try and figure out what's going on about Unicron, who's gone mad in this universe, this timeline. There's no dimensional travel. They mentioned the dimensional gate thing, but actually all they really meant was it was a transporter and it put them in another part of the planet. And when they went to 2 other planets in it, they didn't really. They were still on the same planet. They were still on Dramadan / Tricon. Tricon is probably near Dramadan. Yeah. So that's where they are. Yeah, the fact that we don't actually see all of the Liege Centurio and Liege Maximo. We meet a red Crimson Guard, and we meet as a Night Razor. We meet a Draconis, and the twist, as you'll be watching this, is that they are actually part of that group to begin with. They're Centurios, masquerading as Maximals. So that's how they were able to masquerade, because they thought they were them. We don't know what the other ones looked like, but do we need to? Not really. It's a fun masquerade kind of Halloween kind of story. With a title like that, though, Devastating Memories, it makes it sound like it's going to be this weird, surreal early days of the Quintessons, which is what it was originally Quintessons. But it ends up being just a standard 3-act Transformers episode. Well, 5 acts technically, if you count how we put it together. 5 acts and then 5 more, but that's technically 3 if you split it up, because there's you got your middle part, your first. It's 3-act play basically. So you got your build up, your second act breakup, then you got your back together for the 3rd act. 3 acts. Split up into 12 mini acts, but really it's 3. Because you did 6 and 6, but each one wasn't fully realized. I see what he was trying to do. He also added a little helmsman and navigator stuff in there that was in there. It was interesting. Not put in there earlier, but put in there near the end. So clearly he meant it as some sort of a pilot. Don't know if he ever made a pilot out of it. He's one of the few that we could not find, but we used the story. It gets byline. We can't pay him. Can't pay anybody. It's all volunteer, so we can't pay him. He gets a byline, Gabriel Quan, in the title and the story. We used the dialogue, so yeah, he gets the byline. It's not based on anything else except for that ending being slightly changed. And it kind of makes more sense to change it and have it not go into a ridiculous land by having the Transformers sacrifice themselves for no reason to get away from the black hole. All they really had to do was not have a black hole and just have them leave. That does leave the Chaos Bringer fighting, but that's the way the story went, because Unicron, in the original story, he's supposed to be in the distant past. He goes into the present. We get Gaiken and everybody, and then they do Transformers the movie after that. Presumably that happens several years later. Then Unicron is still there, so he obviously didn't get beaten by the other Titan that looks kind of like Regis Maximus, but he isn't. Couldn't be Fortress Maximus, that wouldn't make sense. He wasn't there yet. Couldn't be Metroplex, he wasn't there yet either. It had to be. It couldn't be Scorponok, he wasn't there either. It had to be somebody that we're not familiar with that he was fighting. Makes sense. Let's count that one. So did we manage to pull it off again? Next 2 episodes, the penultimate and the finale, will be done the way we've been doing it. We're not going to go do this hit rehearsal thing for the next 2. That's just weird. It's harder to edit that way. But it was an interesting experience doing it, and the acting will be really good. So the visuals had to match, and it was really hard to match that. But yeah, there are places where it's gonna go back and forth. It's fine. It's day 4, so yeah. To put it together. Oh no! Now we have to put it together. At least there's not going to be many transitions, because it's really just mainly one planet. It's Dramadon again. So everything's a mess. So we've been there before. Sort of a sequel to Corrosion of War Without End, but not really. I don't think Gabriel Quan intended it to be at all. He was doing a separate Quintesson thing, but then making it more of a modern sort of a Star Wars kind of thing. I would say a Firefly, but it didn't exist yet, kind of thing. There's bar scene. And I know you're going to think, like, oh, the guys saw Discovery, and they had a bar scene, and the cowboys in it and stuff. And that Cal Cat was just ripping off Star Trek Discovery from last week. No, not so. That was a scene. This was in a store, not a bar, and a space store. And with contraband, a speakeasy space store. It's similar to a bar. But yeah, he's going to the head shop. I'm sure, which is a pop thing. He's not. It wasn't thinking about Discovery at all, and didn't film it that way. it's the cantina scene from Star Wars, it's from the 70s. The Star Trek was copying it. Yeah, it goes. It's the scene in Firefly. It's whatever. But no, it's the cantina scene from Star Wars because it can't be Firefly because the story predates that by some time. I think this episode was 1997 or something a while back. So yeah, it would be anything after before 97. I think that's what it was. Yeah, and I think the guy was on TF boards, or at least a relative of his was on TF boards, but not him. So it wasn't him, so we can't say, well, he was there afterward. Yeah, so let me see. Genesis Fading Memories. There's a script right there. Say, Genesis Fading Memories. Gabriel Quan. There. Genesis Fading Memories. Gabriel Quan. He claims a Transformer copyright, which is ridiculous. Legion Maximo and Cybertron. Apparently Cybertron was supposed to be an asteroid that eventually evolves into Cybertron. I guess when they hit the black hole, they went into the future, but that doesn't make sense. So it's only a Quaison planet, asteroid, gets rebuilt. The Dweller refers to the deepest parts of Cybertron, and the Dwellers, early Beast Wars, basically. So Beast Wars was inspired by Dwellers in the Depths, which was an excellent Transformers third season episode. Very creepy, actually, episode. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, this, yeah, it doesn't say what the date is. It's 97 or 98, probably. Sure. Dialogue was good, so we kept it. The ending is slightly changed because, it just didn't work. Sometimes they don't work. But you notice that this ending does end different from the other episodes, in that they usually all get an ensemble together and hang out at the end. They didn't do that this time. It was just a review screen. So yeah, I did the whole Star Trek. Ha ha ha! I made a joke ending. But it's not a dream. They actually were, and the twist is hilarious. And it actually kind of makes sense. It's that's where they came from. That makes sense. That really says why they would be interested in all those guys, the Legion Maximo and the Centurio, if they're actually part of it. It's I'm the Crimson Commander guy. Oh, yeah, that totally makes sense. It's why not? Cool.